oh my gosh, this is a community check-in with Misty and Jo. What? And full stop. Who is that? Oh my God. Hank Phillippi Ryan, right? USA Today bestselling author of 15 novels of suspense. Also won multiple prestigious awards for crime fiction, including 5 Agathas, 5 Anthonys, and the coveted Mary Higgins Clark Award. Also on-air investigative reporter for Boston's WHDH-TV, has won, 37 Emmys.
That's a lot of Emmys.
It's a lot, I know. Here, I'll
Right?
move
Do we
over.
see them?
Right?
Oh, there
Oh
they
my
are.
They're right there. Oh my gosh. Can you like hold one? Can I just see you like,
They're far away.
I'm blown away.
Wow.
When I come visit you in person, I'll bring you one to hold.
Oh,
I just want a picture.
yeah, I
of
have to
one.
take a picture of Misty with the Emmy.
Right.
And we'll have a whole video about it.
I know, for best author talk, shoe in, absolutely easy win.
Thank you. Okay, 14 Edward R. Murrow Awards and dozens of other honors for groundbreaking journalism. Love it. Okay, National Book Reviews have called Hank a master at crafting suspenseful mysteries. So true, because I like just binge read all of you. So
Good page turners.
yes.
Thank you.
Superb at gifted storytelling. Hank's novels have been named Best Thrillers of the Year by Library Journal, New York Post, Book Pub, Pop Sugar, Real Simple Magazine, and others. And the new book, One Wrong Word. Right? We're so
Okay, do
excited.
your book face, do your book face.
Oh,
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have
Oh,
to
there
like
it is.
part the lips.
Except I look
Uh-huh.
like I'm a little crooked. Yeah. Very nice.
Okay, it's a twisty, nonstop story of gaslighting, manipulation, and murder. B.A. Paris says, a gripping roller coaster of a read. This is Hank at her very best. Okay, and Hank lives in Boston with her husband, a renowned criminal defense and civil rights attorney. What's your husband's name?
Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan. We love you too. Oh my gosh, that's so impressive. So can we please start with the new book?
Yep.
Okay, can I just say, if Lisa Scottolini said, Ryan is one of my favorite authors, bam, right there, I would probably pass out.
Oh,
Okay. If James Patterson said, if you're looking for a riveting suspense that keeps you up late, in one wrong word, you get your wish, I would pass out. Okay, Mary Kubica, who we've interviewed, fantastic. One wrong word grabbed me on the first page and didn't let go. Ryan never fails to amaze me. I would pass out.
Very nice.
well, I
I'm-
did kind of, I
that's-
felt that way. You know, it's really interesting to write a novel and cross fingers that people love it. And then to have the fabulous Lisa and the fabulous James Patterson and the fabulous Mary, who I have revered, love it, and and take the time to read it and take the time to be supportive and enthusiastic, even super enthusiastic, and give an endorsement is really, passing out is kind of a good way of putting it. And it's almost incalculably amazing. You just never know how your life is going to turn out, and you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what's going to happen. And all 3 of those fantastic authors have become dear friends. And how did that, how did I get so lucky? So I do count my blessings every day about that.
This book, can you give us a little book talk?
Yes, and it's interesting because when you two held up your book faces, and that's fun and it's cool and everybody's doing it, but we did the cover like that on purpose, because when you hold that book up to your face and you realize how much you could be her. The reason for that is we wanted people to understand that what happens to Arden Ward in this novel could happen to you, and might have already happened to you. She's incredibly relatable. She's incredibly good. She's incredibly lovely. But the entire world has been pulled out from under her. She's just been thrown off balance, thrown off of equilibrium, and she needs to get her power back, because one wrong word can ruin your life. And no one knows that better than Arden Ward. She is a crisis management expert who is being forced to manage a crisis in her own life, a crisis in her personal life. She's been accused, falsely accused, of having a passionate affair with a powerful client. Now, we love Arden. She would never do such a thing. That's ridiculous. And no, no, no. But her boss believes it. Her boss believes the rumor. Her boss believes the scandal. And as a result, Arden is about to be fired from this job she loves. So Arden gets one chance to save her career and reputation. And that is by repairing the reputation of a guy called Ned Bannister. Ned Bannister is a smart, successful Boston business mogul who's just been found not guilty in a terrible drunk driving homicide. But even though the jury found him not guilty, the court of public opinion still thinks that Ned Bannister is a killer. And that has ruined Ned's life and ruined his wife's life and ruined the lives of his two adorable children. So Arden spends what might be her last 2 weeks on the job to help this shattered family and repair Ned's reputation and give these people their lives back by convincing the world through her words that Ned Bannister is not a monster, not a killer, but actually a good guy. But as the truth begins to emerge, so do Arden's doubts, and she begins to wonder if she's using her skill with words to protect a killer. So, two smart characters facing off in a high-stakes psychological cat and mouse game to prove their truth about a terrible crime. But which character is the cat and which character is the mouse? And that is one wrong word.
That's
Well, and what I find so interesting is that the whole thing, I mean, in the very first chapter, it starts with her smelling like a certain perfume. What made you use the perfume as, the clue, the false clue for this,
affair.
the affair?
I wish I had this perfect answer for it, but I don't know.
Okay.
One of the things that one of the powers of rumor, one of the powers of scandal, one of the devastating things about secrets is that so many rumors begin with something that's not true, or a misperception, or a miscalculation, or a decision that someone makes out of what they need that hurts someone else. So we know, and it's not a spoiler in any way, we know at the beginning of the novel that this powerful client who Arden is accused of having an affair with, that it's his wife that has been complained about it. And she says to Arden's boss, Arden smells like joy. And he's like, what? Joy? And she says, the perfume. I wear that perfume, meaning the woman in the book. And she knows that her philandering husband gives this perfume joy to the women that he's trying to seduce. So because Arden wears it, not anything to do with this guy, because Arden wears it, she decides Arden must be another one of the women that his husband is pursuing. Now, she's wrong. But it's a very powerful clue to her. Here's a woman who, and she's barely in the book, but here's a woman who sort of motivates the whole novel because all she's trying to do is protect her marriage. All she's trying to do is make sure that her husband doesn't run off. All she's trying to do is make sure that some gorgeous crisis management expert isn't trying to lure her husband away. Now, Arden isn't doing any of that, but that moment that I will hurt Arden Ward because I think she's hurting me is the domino that starts the whole book. Why it was joy perfume? I honestly think because the word joy can have so many layers of meaning. I mean, there is a very famous Jean Patou perfume called Joy, but it's also an emotion that we feel. And it's also a feeling that we talk about often. So I wanted it to have multi-layers and to be sort of, double entendre in that joy is good and joy is bad.
Right. Okay.
More than you ever wanted to know about that particular thing. But it is, you're so precisely right that is the domino that begins the entire story.
And I just thought it was such a great line. She smells like joy. before you fully understand what does that really mean, but
Yeah.
it has many layers to it, I think.
Oh, I just love that. Thank you. I mean, when you write a line like that, when I write a line like that, and there are times, and I will just admit this to you, there are times when I think, oh, that's going to work. That means a lot more than that one sentence.
Okay, so then this isn't spoiling it, but the last word of the book is
Oh,
it
oh, that's
comes full
right.
circle.
And you're such a smart reader. You are just both such smart readers, because that is a powerful thing in a novel. And it's something that I really work for is when you put down the book, when you're finished, I want you to think, oh yeah, this is exactly what should have happened, exactly how it should have turned out. And I never saw that coming. What a surprise. And also, what a good story. I want you to think, what a good story. I'm glad I spent however much money I spent on this book. It was worth it. It was worth my time and worth my dollars. That's really important to me. And one of the things that makes a book feel big and makes a book feel finished is that the beginning and the end mirror each other, that it feels like the author, whether they have or whether they haven't, that the author has planned that there are bookends to the story. And you feel this sense of completion and comfort. You feel this sense that there's been something that's organized and planned and meant to be, and the end feels like the end. And that the characters will live on after the book in some way because they're so real to you, but that you have been through something important with them, and that has had, a satisfactory and entertaining conclusion.
Yeah, it's like you come full circle with the character and the story. Because it's unsettling when you read a book and you're left with more questions than answers.
How many times have all of you read a book and you think, good, 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 good. And then at the end you think, I couldn't have put it better myself. Exactly. And you just go, no, that was a waste. And that's anathema. I really want you to be empowered by this book, entertained by this book, and feel that it was, that as a reporter, the highest accolade you can have is when someone says, oh, that's a great story, a great story. And that's what I'm going for in every single one of my books, is someone to say, that's a great story.
Well, and I love your the words at the very beginning. You say, for everyone who has a dream, and yes, you wonderful person reading this, that means you are brave and fabulous and beloved. And then you go on to to thank your husband as well. And I just thought, what a lovely thing to say to the reader of your book. And it shows that you do have a vested interest in the experience the reader has when they're reading.
Very much so. Very much so.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
I love that. So of course there's like suspense, and it's like a little like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen, right? But I love when you throw in like a little piece of humanity. Okay, so towards the end,
No spoilers.
no spoilers, no. I'll just read this couple sentences. It says, Dad had opened his arms to her, and she walked up the marble steps to join them. Her father had embraced her and whispered in her ear, follow your heart, he said, and you will never go wrong. I was like,
it's interesting, isn't it?
Inside a suspense book.
Well, because we are who we are in a continuum. Isn't that true? The things that stay with us, the things that parents or mentors or friends tell us as we're younger, and some of the things stick, and some of the things stick and grow and become a part of ourselves. And because Arden is a real person, she has had those things, those moments in her life, those touchstones in her life that she remembers, words she lives by. It makes her, that's what makes a character be a person, be a real person. And it explains, why a book is a series of choices, right? A series of choices that reveals who a character is, whether they make the wise lovely, loving, unselfish, helpful choice, the good legal choice, if it's a crime fiction, or whether they make the venal, selfish, self-centered, illegal, nasty, ugly, dishonest choice. Those choices, every single choice along the way that they make reveals the character. That's how we know who they are. And their background, the child is father to the man background, is that teaches them what decisions they'll make, that guides their decisions, whether they actively know it or not, whether one's parents were happy, whether one was abandoned, whether one was a misfit in high school, all those kinds of things stick with us and become part of us and then guide our decisions. And so it's really important for me, the motivation of every single character has got to be understandable. So it's not just what does someone want and how far they'll go to get it, which is really top of mind for me in my novels, but also why do they want that thing? What happened for better or for worse in their lives to make them want that thing?
Right, which adds layers to a character. So it's not just he's the bad guy, she's the good guy, because
Yes.
everyone is much more complicated than that.
Exactly. And a reader
That's a story.
yearns to understand that, because then when they do something, we think, oh, I may not agree with that, but I see why they did that, or I see why they think that's a good thing.
Right. What part of it, when you're writing a book, like this most recent one wrong word, what's the process like for you? I mean, do you have an idea in your head and you start to write, or do you think about kind of the full span of the book before you start writing?
Every book is a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but I have never in my life known the full span of the book before I start writing. Never, never, never. I have never known who the bad guy is. I have never known who gets killed in the books. I've never known. And I know it sounds like a weird process, but I start with sort of one good idea, like in One Wrong Word. What if a crisis management expert had to solve a personal crisis of her own? Would she be able to use her crisis management skills that she uses for executives and politicians and movie stars? Would she be able to use those for herself? And how valuable is that anyway? I was thinking about the public relations people, the crisis management experts that I've dealt with as a reporter all these years. And they're the people who come out when there's a crime or a devastating, a disaster. And they're, the spokespeople for the families come out, or the spokesperson for the defendant comes out, or the spokesperson for the politician or the movie star or the company comes out and says, don't worry about those Tylenol. There's not really poison in the Tylenol. We've got this figured out. Everything is fine. What are they doing? They are spinning the story so we believe what they want us to believe. And that happens every day in our lives. Our parents actually were our first crisis management experts, right? We would go to our moms and say, Jimmy, tugged my hair, nobody likes me. And our moms, if we were lucky, would help us through that crisis. Now, as adults, I was thinking, as adults, there are people who actually make their living doing that, crisis management experts. And I thought, what would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to a crisis management expert? And that would be someone who realized they were using their powers to protect a bad guy. And I thought, ooh, that sounds like a really good idea. And so I typed chapter 1 and I thought, let's just see what happens. And that is my process, and I'll tell you very, very quickly that as a reporter, as I said, I've been a reporter for 43 years. And as an investigative reporter, I don't know the end of my investigative stories when I start working on them, right? I don't, because I couldn't, because they're new. I'm looking for something new. I'm revealing someone's secrets. I'm looking into documents and researching and digging up clues and doing interviews and finding out something that no one else knows, or that someone hopes no one else knows. I'm finding that. And I don't know what it is. So I'm comfortable with not knowing the end of my news stories, because if I knew it, it wouldn't be new. So I'm in search of the story. You can think about it that way. I'm in search of the story through documents, through research, through interviews, all those kinds of things. So it's kind of the same in fiction. I'm in search of the story, but instead of searching documents and doing interviews, I'm searching in my own imagination. I'm researching my own imagination and seeing what story could evolve. Now, I will tell you very quickly, that is a tightrope. If I could do it any other way, if I had, there were days that I would think, oh, please, 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 I wish I had an outline. I wish I knew how to do an outline. I wonder what happens next. And that's the key, isn't it? That's what I want you to wonder as a reader. I can't wait to find out what happens next. And I know as the author that I can't find out what happens next till I sit down at my computer and type the next sentence and the next chapter and the next scene, because I can't find out what happens until I write it myself. It's the same in television. So even though it's a pretty rickety way of doing it, it's what seems to work for me.
When's your favorite time to write?
At night. That's a great question. And I don't mean to keep bringing up television, but as a television reporter, for many years, I did a story every day, no matter, and I wouldn't have any idea what it was. It was, fires and murders and court cases and political campaigns and the cat show and the Celtics winning the playoffs. I didn't know what it would be. So every morning I'd come in, I'd get an assignment, I'd go do the story, and it had to be on the 6 o'clock news. It had to be on the 6 o'clock news. And so I learned that my writing metabolism is always getting ready for the 6 o'clock news, or always getting ready for the 11 o'clock news. So at about 2 in the afternoon, my brain just kicks into high gear because I know that's my writing time. And even after all these years, I can tell you when it's just about to be 6 o'clock in my time zone, and I can tell you when it's about to be 11 o'clock in my time zone, because that my deadline from television has stuck with me all those years. Sometimes late at night, I'm really good late at night. And I'll say to my husband before we go to bed, I'll say, I'm just gonna, it'll be midnight. And I'll say, I'm just gonna say goodnight to the book for a minute. And I come in and open my manuscript and say goodnight.
Chapters later.
And that's when I get some of my best ideas, that little moment of time when maybe I'm just a little bit tired and my brain is not working so hard that it allows ideas to flow through.
Okay.
Who knows how our writer brains work? It's part of the magic.
Yeah.
So then you also currently you have some live programs happening, right?
Oh, you mean, First Chapter Fun and The Back Room and Crime Time are amazing. The pandemic, so horrible, and ruined so many people's lives and such a tragedy to live through. But it's really kind of interesting to think of the little glimmers of sunlight and starlight that came out of the pandemic. First Chapter Fun started by Hannah Mary McKinnon at the beginning of the pandemic. Now Hannah and I are on, pushing our 400th episode of reading a first chapter of a fabulous novel out loud on Facebook and Instagram every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. ET. We've almost read 400 of them now, and that's quite amazing. And we're thrilled that people join First Chapter Fun and hear that. Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I've been doing that for 3 years now, hundreds of authors, amazing, every Tuesday at 4. I interview live a wonderful author, and that has been everyone from Sherry LaPena to Anthony Horowitz, to Mary Kubica, to anybody. It's gorgeously, amazingly wonderful to be able to, somebody says, do you want to read this book and interview the author? I'm like, yes, I do. That would be great. And then finally, Karen Dion and I put together what's called The Back Room every other Sunday at 7. We have a marvelous panel of 4 authors, and readers can sign up to talk up close and Zoom personal with each of those 4 authors. It's a very, we did it because at the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing these events on Zoom and whatever platform, and we didn't know who was there. We couldn't see any of the readers, and we missed our connection face to face with readers. So we concocted this scheme to do Zoom breakout rooms, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. And all 3 of them are growing and growing because I think, as you well know, readers love to be in book world with you. And they love to talk about books with you. And it's one of those things that if I say to you, have you read All the Colors of the Dark? And you say, oh, yes, I have. It's a fantastic book. Suddenly, you know, even if we're strangers, we know each other. We have something to talk about, and books can really do that. And I thank you for what you're doing to perpetuate that. You're just making such a difference in readers' lives.
Well, thank you.
Yay. Okay, so that is one wrong word, and we are gonna spend the whole week with Hank. So this is just our first video. We have a few more that we're gonna post later on in the week, so stay tuned for more from Hank. But this is at the library. As soon as we're done with this interview, I will be returning it, and it will be available for checkout. So thank you guys. Thank you, Hank. This has been so fun. We love you. We adore you so much.
I can't wait to see you. Thank you so much for this. And I'll talk to you in a little while.
Okay, we love you. Bye.